Made my flag bigger behind me. I thank you very appreciate it. So if you join me for the pledge, that's what I'm going to do now.
All other people. Right. I'm really, you know how shy I am.
To the flag. For which it stands.
Was that Friday? There's a
Under God.
Liberty and justice.
A Zoom? No, it was Zoom.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, let me just jump in and suggest that we are moving
Thank you, everyone. Welcome, Mr. Adams.
Hello there.
You don't really have to do this, so you don't.
All right, haven't done that. Miss Abigail, could we have roll call, please?
Thursday.
Miss,
You don't have everybody.
Wow, I got a lot.
I plus it 24. We talked about it in the
Hey,
past.
Bugs, could you please mute your microphone when you're not speaking?
All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, roll call. Filkins?
Here.
Thank you. Basher is gone. Ryan Schultz?
Here.
Bunce?
Here.
Bauman?
Here.
Fent?
Here.
Putvin?
Here?
And I don't believe Greg is on. I think he said he was going to be gone as well. Okay. We're all set.
Cool, perfect. Thank you. Start off. Approval of the agenda again for January 25th, 2021. Got to get used to saying.
So moved.
Joe, seconded by me or Mr. Bunce, I don't care. And roll on that, please, Abigail.
Yes. Putvin?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. And I told his ass to go over there.
Fent, could you please repeat? I couldn't hear you.
Where's the green one? Are some of yours on the
Yes.
table?
We after Abby?
Yep.
All right, Bunce, could you mute yourself?
Here it is.
I hate to interrupt, Dave. Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you. All right, Fent?
Yes.
Bauman?
Yes.
Bunce?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
And Filkins?
Yes.
Thank you. Any public comment this evening? Preferably on anything that we are not discussing tonight, which is amendment of an ordinance. Other than that, any public comment? Hearing nothing, I will move on. This time, to make Joe happy, we had minutes for November 23rd, 2020 meeting and January 11th, 2021 special meeting minutes. Motion to accept those.
So moved.
Wilkins
I'll second that.
and Mr. Buck.
That's fine.
I'll support.
Thank you. All right, we'll start the vote. Filkins?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Bunce?
Yes.
Bauman?
Yes.
Fent?
Yes.
And Putvin?
Yes. Thank you, Abby.
Okay.
Okay, this evening, we are here this evening on a public hearing. The public hearing is an ordinance amending the city's zoning ordinance regarding uses permitted in the business districts. Having read that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Wallace now.
Thank you, John. Tonight we're having a public hearing and taking action on an amendment to the B1, B2, and B3 zoning districts. And it's relative to finalizing our redevelopment ready certification with the state. The state very much would like to see increased use of mixed use in our downtown environment. And historically, we've required a special use permit for upper story residential in the city. Today, we're looking at changing the ordinance so that the upper story residential would be permitted by right, which means as long as it meets other code requirements and zoning ordinance requirements, it would no longer be discretionary measured against standards in the special use section of the ordinance. So it would make it a lot quicker for people to do residential in the upper floors. I will share my screen to share the zoning map so that you can get some sense of where the B1, B2, and B3 districts are. If you can see my cursor here, where the cursor is the heart of downtown. All these blue districts, you see different shades. The B1 and the B2 basically comprise the heart of the downtown. The B3 districts extend northward up in this direction and then also south to just below Granite Avenue. So essentially what we're saying for the B1 and the B2 is that the upper floor residential would be allowed by right. The B3 would be just a little bit different. The B3 would allow residential on any level except within the Downtown Development Authority District. Within the Downtown Development Authority District, it would only be allowed on the upper floors. So the B1 and the B2 would be treated the same. The B3 would be treated a little bit differently. And that's because of some of the closer in B3s that might be in the DDA district. We wanted to be careful not to use valuable ground floor space for residential when we're trying to create more people-oriented businesses in that space. So it's basically quite a simple adjustment to the ordinance. You have copies of it in your packet. If you'd like to go over any of the pieces, I'd be happy to do so, but I didn't want to go through each section unless there were questions, given that the action that we're trying to take is relatively simple. If anybody has any questions before the chairman opens it up for public hearing, I'd be happy to answer any questions prior to the public hearing.
John, per my email to you this afternoon, I'm just, as I look at the ordinance, page 2 at the bottom, the section that's 46-426, it's the new subsection 2. I was concerned about ambiguity in that language. Residential dwelling units, except on the primary floor at grade level, if located within the Downtown Development Authority District. I just remain a little concerned that it's not clear that you can have all residential dwelling units, but only in the DDA district, or as you described in your email back to me, that it's just this, and you said tonight very clearly that it's just the grade level, the primary floor grade level that's limited in the DDA district. I'm just concerned that the wording remains ambiguous.
Do you have a suggestion for wording that you think would clear it out?
Well, I was worried you were going to ask me that. I was hoping you were going to pay another lawyer to figure out that answer today, John.
Well, we don't have a lawyer at the meeting tonight, so you might have to suffice.
Well, if you want to move on, I'll think on it while for a few minutes while we're going through the public hearing, if you like.
Oh, that would be fine.
Okay.
I have a question on the parking, John. Did you check on the parking? Because certain downtown businesses will not have any parking if they have tenants.
Well, I think the people without parking would probably, especially if they were in the parking assessment district, would probably then have to start partaking of the special assessment district for the parking, would be paying for those parking spaces, and probably would have to purchase overnight parking permits for their residents. So I think that's one way that would be handled.
And what kind of cost will that either be on the landlord and or renter?
Well, I don't have the fees ready off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to provide you with that later. We have standard fees for residential units as part of that special assessment formula, and it's the same for everybody who has residential units. It's the same price, per unit for those spaces.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anyone? Public or?
Well, maybe you should open up the public hearing if we're going to go to the public.
Okay, we can do that. At this time, we'll go ahead and open public hearing.
I can tell you the cost for.
Who said what? Sorry.
Sounded like Karen, but
Sorry, that was Abby. I have the seasonal cost.
Oh,
The seasonal cost for a parking pass is $82.
oh, perfect.
May I say something?
Sure, I haven't gotten very far.
Jerry Adams, 338 Woodside Circle, Cadillac, Michigan. Essentially, what you're considering in terms of prior planning commission approvals or city approvals of upper story apartments, residential, for example, you've always approved them. There's never really been anything different. And essentially what this is doing is basically just making the process a little easier. To my knowledge, downtown merchants have enjoyed and have wanted to utilize upper story space for not only business purposes, but for residential. And a lot of the upper story spaces are currently being used for residential. So basically what you're doing tonight is essentially making the process a little easier for those that own buildings in the downtown. You're not doing really anything out of the ordinary that you haven't already done, to my knowledge, since 2004 when I was working with the city. So I would support what it is you're doing tonight, or I would support this ordinance. And thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Perfect. Thank you for the input, Mr. Adams. Anyone else out there agree, disagree? I think Mr. Adams made it very simple to understand that it's just a easier process for people to do and utilize their business better. Every little bit helps. Hearing nothing, I guess, in favor or against, I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing so the board can discuss this, I guess. So at this time, public hearing's closed, and any comments from anyone?
Well, hopefully that gave John enough, or excuse me, Joe enough time to come up with that.
I dragged my feet more, Joe.
Listen, I used to get paid by the hour. I don't do anything fast.
He said that out loud.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it, frankly, myself. It may have been the same issue John was struggling with, but yeah, I've got an addition, but I'm not sure it makes it markedly better. So
If I may, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission.
Yes. Sorry, I was reading what he was looking at.
Okay, this is Marcus, city manager, perhaps.
Your audio is still horrible, Marcus. Your audio is horrible. Last time, what did you do? You called in on your phone. Are you in your basement again?
No, I'm in my office today.
Wow.
Right? I don't know. Well, I'll just talk louder. Perhaps the planning commission will move forward with the recommendation in the affirmative. And Mr. Baumann, if you have some additional language that you think would be helpful, you can certainly provide it to us. Ultimately, this needs to go to City Council for their affirmation as well as a public hearing. And the language can certainly be updated at that point as well.
I'd be in favor of that. In fact, the language I'm looking at is the ordinance we won't even approve. I think it's the City Council's resolution. So
Agreed.
So, if you have no pressure tonight in terms of trying to.
Right.
Hit up John during the week and we can go from there.
And could we pass it to Mike between now and the next council meeting to fix that issue?
Yeah, yes, the public hearing won't be before council for sometime in March. So we got time to finish the language. And Joe and Mr. Baumann can work with us, we'll work with Mike, or we'll get Mr. Baumann in touch with the city attorney directly as well. So we'll get it sorted out.
The motion tonight would be to approve resolution number 2021-2, which is the resolution to approve the text amendment to the zoning ordinance. When somebody's ready to make a motion on this item.
You said -2 on ours is -1. At least what I have. Motion to approve resolution number 2021-01 is what have on my paper. But you said 02?
I'll have to confirm that. I thought we'd passed a resolution at the last planning commission meeting as well. But
hang on. I got papers. Hang on.
yeah, 01 was last meeting.
Yep. 01 was the special meeting. Yep.
so yeah, this should be -2, and then the next item will be -3.
Okay. You're correct. Sorry.
I'd make the motion to approve -02. It's not written on mine, but it's the resolution recommending approval of text amendment to zoning ordinance as described by staff.
Support.
Support, Ms. Filkins. Miss Abby, please.
All right. Baumann,
Yes.
Fent,
Yes.
Putvin,
Yes.
Bunce,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
and Filkins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. New business, we have nothing. Old business, we have nothing. Any board member comments?
For
Mr. Coy?
for new business, you had the resolution to approve sale of real property.
Correct. That's what I was going to say, new business.
John, there was an updated agenda that went out last week and today.
Ah, well, I printed it early and I didn't reprint it because I figured it was the same thing.
John, would you walk over and give a copy to John, please?
Ah. So much for me printing it early. Well, mine doesn't have it. Oh, hey, we have new business. Okay, wait for John. Okay. Okay, under new business, there's a resolution to approve the sale of real property within the James E. Potvin Industrial Park.
Marcus, you want me to try to tackle this, Marcus? Because your audio.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I called in. I don't know if you guys can hear me any better. I hope you can.
A little better.
This is Marcus, and a little better? Okay. So this is Marcus again, and with respect to this item, the Planning Commission at your special meeting that you had earlier in the month, this should look somewhat familiar. The graphic is almost the same. Earlier in the month, the Planning Commission recommended that the city enter into essentially a land swap deal with consumers with respect to Lot 2 and Lot 1. And as previously communicated, the purpose for us doing all of that is to try to accommodate Spencer Plastics with regard to an expansion need that they have most immediately that requires them to gain access into Parcel 2. The city at this point is in the process of finalizing the swap deal with consumers. The council did approve it at their last meeting. We also have a proposal from Spencer Plastics to acquire Parcel 2. And what we have before you this evening is basically the request to also, in the affirmative, recommend that we move forward with the sale of Parcel 2 to Spencer Plastics. And that's what the resolution this evening does. The city's Cadillac Industrial Fund also is in support of the concept of selling the parcel to Spencer Plastics. And ultimately, this would also be affirmed or need to be affirmed by City Council as a part of an ordinance that would sell the property, and that's done through public hearing at that level, likely sometime, I'm guessing, later this spring.
Okay. What action do we take tonight?
The action
So the
tonight
request this evening would be a motion. Sorry, John, go ahead.
would be a motion to approve resolution number 2021-3, the resolution to approve sale of real property within the James E. Potvin Industrial Park.
Okay. Mr. Burns.
I move to approve the resolution as stated.
I'll second it.
Mr. Fent seconded.
Yes.
Roll on that, Abby, please.
Yes. Bauman,
Yes.
Bent,
Yes.
Potvin,
Yes.
Bunce,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
and Filkins.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm gonna move along again on the right agenda. Old business none now, yeah. Back to board member comments, other than to correct me. Anybody happy with who's in the Super Bowl or anything silly? I'm not even the sports guy in this mess, but okay. All right, that's my board member comment, 'cause whatever. Okay, any other communications, Mr. Wallace, sir?
No, there have been no communications.
Perfect. Any other public comment in our audience this evening? Okay. No other business. I guess we will adjourn for the evening. It's always a pleasure to kind of see everybody and almost hear Marcus now and then, but anyway. So I guess we are adjourned.
I agree. Hey, Joe.
Thanks, everybody.